A fine good evening, everyone. This is Patricia, and I am traveling for history. So, I wanted to offer another book recommendation. The first one was the Histories by Herodotus, a book that one should read from start to finish, chapter 1 to whatever the last one is. The second one, Building Hoover Dam, which actually doesn't have to be read the same way. It could be read a few dribs here, a few drabs there, wherever you want to be in the book. You just want to be mindful if one piece follows another. But you don't have to actually watch, or read rather, chapter. And the same with this evening's book review. Just remove my bookmark. This book is, let's see, I think the copyright is 1990. Yes, copyright is 1990, and this edition is 1991. And I bought it brand new for $12.95 when it first came out. Now, first of all, before I tell you the title, you've been watching my videos, so you know that I visit a lot of cemeteries. I have, in the Vermont Cemeteries playlist, over 100 videos. That does not mean 100 cemeteries. That just means 100 videos. Could have 3 videos on any one cemetery at any given time. But I think this book will give you a much better bit of insight into into my reading pleasure. Now, I have read this book multiple times. This is another book that you do not have to read from start to finish. You can just jump around in it, which is great. So I may as well just show you the title now and get it over with. Please don't be put off by the name of it. And note, of course, that I did not put the title on this book. This is the name of it. The Bedside Book of Death. Yep, that's what this is, the Bedside Book of Death. And what does it bottom say here? Macabre Tales of Our Final Passage by Robert Wilkins. I'll read the back cover to you so you're not bewildered at all. And please don't be bewildered. I think it's actually well, I'll tell you in a moment what I think about the read. But I do need to move the light so I can actually read what this says. Our fears of death, whether outlandishly neurotic or unnervingly familiar, are the stuff of this morbid entertainment. People have always been fascinated with death. Some deny it, many try to escape it, most dread it. So what better therapy than the Bedside Book of Death, a diverting and irreverent ramble through the superstitions and science surrounding our own mortality. Filled with bizarre anecdotes and illustrated with ghoulish images, this most unusual bedside companion records the lengths to which people throughout history have gone to cope with fears of being buried alive, of being defiled after death, of disintegrating in tombs, of being forgotten, and of coming to ignominious ends. Settle down and read about Count Karnicki, advisor to the Tsar of Russia, who devised the contraption that would activate bells and lights if a quote-unquote corpse happened to stir in its coffin. The various methods of embalming, Peruvian, Egyptian, and accidental, for example, the frozen bodies of a doomed expedition to the North Pole. Britain's King George II's undignified death in the royal lavatory. With gallows humor and an eye for the offbeat, author Robert Wilkins has exhumed a gruesome selection of tales from the grave. These rich offerings make the Bedside Book of Death the ultimate antidote to our deepest terror. Are you ready to hear a little bit about the author, Robert Wilkins? Hope you're sitting down, because when I read this, I thought, really? But anyway, Robert Wilkins, a practicing child psychologist, is the author of The Therapist's Thesaurus and Problem Behaviors in Children. He lives in England with his wife and 2 children. This is a Citadel Press book, Carroll Publishing Group. And I won't show you any of the pictures, but it does have quite a few illustrations. Some of the pictures, well, I don't want to show you pictures from a book because I'm sure they're copyrighted, and I don't want to get a copyright strike. But they're also a little, some are a little, well, maybe gruesome to some. They're not gruesome to me, but they could be gruesome to you. The book does have a table of contents. Let me just go ahead and put my bookmark back in. I have a passage I want to read to you. So the contents include Chapter 1, The Fear of Premature Burial. Now, I do actually have a video on Dr. Timothy Clark Smith, who was afraid of being buried alive. It's actually one of my more popular videos, over 500 views to date. Yay! And there are other channels that are recommending that video. Double yay! But he was terrified of being buried alive. Chapter 2, The Fear of Posthumous Indignity. Chapter 3, The Fear of Bodily Disintegration. So in this chapter they talk about mummification in Egypt, mummies of the world, stuff like that. Chapter 4, The Fear of Being Forgotten. Well, I know for me, I have no children, so, and I have no family who live in state. So I have friends, which is great, but, you know, once they're dead, maybe their children may think of anecdotes about me, but I think for the most part that's wishful thinking. So I know that I'll be forgotten, and I have to say that's a bit of a shame in my mind, but hey, you know, how many generations are people really going to be thinking of their families? Maybe their great-grandparents, if they were lucky enough to have met them. But other than that, what's the likelihood? Not too likely. And then chapter 5, there are only 5 chapters in this book, The Fear of Ignominious Death. And let's face it, that's kind of fun stuff, isn't it? Well, to read about. And then there's an afterword called The Fear of Planning One's Own Funeral. References and even an index in this book. I already looked up Dr. Timothy Clark Smith. He's not in here. Plenty of illustrations. 26? Any more than that? Oh, no, more than that. What is that, page number? No. 90. Looks like there are 90 illustrations in here. They're all black and white. So, that's pretty fun. So, and fun is relative. I happen to think this is an awesome read, and I think that you could enjoy it. And, well, you know, oops, bookmark. I think you could enjoy this book. I don't know if it's out of print. I was going to look it up and forgot. And I can't now because, of course, I'm recording. But it's just, I don't want to go so far as to say it's entertaining trash. I read plenty of those books too. But still, which are nonfiction, by the way. I tend to read nonfiction. I don't really read fiction anymore. But I would not lump this under entertaining trash, but it's certainly really interesting. And so let me read you this passage. I think you'll find it entertaining. But we'll see how that goes. Alrighty. This is on page 96 of this book. And so on each of the pages, I should point out, too, that there are paragraphs with titles. And that tells us we're on a new section, a new tidbit, a new story, a new something. So, but although connected in terms of the topic overall, it's something totally different from what you read before. So anyway, this one is called Napoleon's Private Bit. Quote, "It was not only holy men who ran the risk of exhumation and of having bits of their anatomy removed after death. When Napoleon died, his chaplain, Père Vinali, helped himself to a number of anatomical relics, including a quote-unquote mummified tendon. This specimen, whose diminutive and shriveled appearance gave a new meaning to, quote-unquote, not tonight, Josephine, had many owners over the years before being auctioned at Christie's in London in 1969. It failed to reach its reserve price." I'm thinking, oh, that last sentence could have been so much more, so better filled with double entendres, but I'll leave that to your imagination. So, the Bedside Book of Death is, and this is the spine. So, this is really a fun read. Understanding that I have an irreverent sense of humor, and although when I'm visiting cemeteries, I am, what's the phrase I'm looking for? I can be solemn in a cemetery, especially when I'm talking about people who've died, you know, the children and people killed in war and things like that. But this is a great way to decompress from that, if you will. Anyway, it's, how many pages is this book? It's not long enough. I think that's the best thing I can say about that. 245 pages. And it won't take long to read this at all. Anyway, I hope, and you know, even if you can't buy it, see if your library can get you an interlibrary loan. You'd be surprised the interlibrary loans of books I have gotten. I think I may be queen of interlibrary loans at my local library. But this is so good. It's so good. It's worth your time and your effort. I highly recommend this. I just think it's a wonderful read. Haven't read this in some time, but because I have a wall of books. Holy cow! You can probably see them over here. These are on this side. Those are bookcases over there, and they're full of books. Which I buy and sell as well, but I do read, have read quite a few of them too. Alrighty, well, this is Patricia, and I am traveling for history. I appreciate your watching my videos and enjoying them, commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel. Oh, by the way, that's another thing. I always forget this. If you like the content that I have, that I'm offering, hey, please subscribe. I invite you personally. I am inviting you personally to come on and join the crowd. 128 subscribers to date. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I truly appreciate it. So until I see you again, which at this point will still be the next day because I upload daily still, and I have such a list of places I plan to go. Holy cow, that's just in state. Anyway, until I see you again, you have a great evening, and thanks again so much for watching. Have a great night. Bye.